Thinking Thursday? Okay. Starts at 1. Testing. Oh, you notice the batteries. They're newly charged batteries, but they're kind of flickering. Maybe that's why. Maybe I should change the batteries. Okay, so my audio is going because my batteries went out, even though they're new. I just put them in. So we lift up, and then we go down, slide down the leg, and then go to one side and release. Now, releasing, let your body kind of hang there. You won't injure anything if you let your body relax. It's fighting the movements that's going to actually cause some problems with your. Okay, so I got a couple of. So this is Lucien. He's usually in charge of the video, but. Okay, can we hear me? Should be good. Okay, okay, good. So that was a problem. You know those ever-ready batteries? They quite try to keep on ticking, but they don't always work. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. So your heart is actually like that ever-ready battery. It keeps on ticking, but the thing is, in order to recharge it, you need nutrients, you need oxygen, you need all these things to keep that thing working and ticking. So that's the same with the batteries. We have to recharge them. So we have to recharge our body. And one of the ways we get the nutrients and oxygen to the body is through movement. So movement is essential to life. We have to move in order to get everything to happen. Okay. So while we're just doing these simple patterns, it's really stimulating circulation. That circulation makes you feel alive. It kind of brings energy through the body. So this is the way we move, and this is the way we can help stimulate and bring oxygen to refresh the body, even on this cellular level that's happening. So that's why, I'd like you to move the whole body. All these things that we're doing is to stimulate circulation. And the better you make these circles, the more control you have in these motions. It's really building motor skill. So motor skill, increased circulation, understanding your body's movements, the geometry of these positions is really what we're doing. A lot of those concepts are kind of difficult to understand in the beginning. In fact, it's a process that doesn't end. You're constantly analyzing and reworking your movements, so your body starts to become much more insightful, much more intelligent. So the hands on the waist, and we're going to turn the neck. So this area of the neck, the shoulders, get pretty tight and rigid because we don't move it enough. And your neck doesn't like to hold a position for a long time, so that's why we just kind of hit a point and then switch and switch. We go back and forth. So we're just engaging all the muscles that are in the head, and there are a lot of them that help us turn. And we don't do a lot of strong movements with the head. The only thing we really do is turn it. You can potentially do, things with the head, but it's not necessary. We just actually keep enough strength in the neck and so forth to keep our head on our shoulders in the right position, and then when we turn, it just takes us in a direction to where we can see, so we can focus on the direction. So that's really to open sort of the peripheral and the vision of what's in front of us. So that's really important when we move our head. Now what I say is you turn your head and you don't hold your position for a long time because your neck doesn't like that. That's how you get sometimes a stiff neck or you're in the wrong position because the vertebrae are pretty susceptible to being dislodged to create some of this tension. And if you do get a pinched nerve in the neck, you're going to have a stiff neck or you're not going to be able to turn correctly. And that's why we want to keep moving it to keep circulation going. And getting these muscles in this area relaxed is very important. Okay, now we're going to take our feet out to the side a little bit so we can do the turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, and 2. Okay, next, I'm going to close it up. Now, if you do the video or the live stream at 9:30 on a Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday, you would go through the same exercise without the same explanation, but at the same time, there's some exercises we do like the stretching and so forth that you could do it on those days to supplement this class. So that gives you a broader range of some of the things that we do. And we work through those, and we also work the sequence of the form more in that class than we do in this class, because here we're building the foundation and the fundamentals in these movements. So when we open our stance and we do this, it's really training to turn the spine again, relax the shoulders, increasing and stimulating circulation. And then when we do this, it's really controlling the pivoting action that I think is so important to take us in directions. So we focus a lot on leg work because that's something that is the slowest to develop. It's the hardest to develop because the lower part of your body, hasn't been as active as the upper part of your body, because most of us move our arms frequently because that's all we've done. So you can actually just stand here and move your hands, but that doesn't give you this whole total body relationship, because in motion, walking, moving, running, from one place to another really requires the lower half of your body. So if your lower half of your body doesn't have stability, it could be because we're a little bit too stiff in the lower half of the body and we don't have the same control. Okay, so let's pull the heels together, hands on your waist, and we go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Now that might be a little bit fast. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how we break it down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you notice if you push your knee out, you're going to pick your heel up. Once it's on the ball of your foot and you either think of turning the knee that way or pulling the heel this way. I mean, you have an option. That's what has to happen. It's just a function of pivoting. So because the knee is really over the toe, because the knee's in the front and your toes are there is really the direction of your movement. So if I go like this and then go like this, there's one on each side. If I just go like this, it's that side. Now on this side, if I go like this, so they can work one side at a time, and then it kind of builds a mechanism in doing that. So you start to kind of program that into yourself, and the first time might be a little bit challenging for you to do, and if it is challenging, what do you think you should do? You should just do that, because just doing that actually will teach you to build some control in the lower half of your body or in that leg. And then you work this leg, and as simple as this sounds or appears to be, it might be a little difficult for some people to do. So, we're creatures of habit, and we actually learn through doing things over and over again. And if you have trouble doing that, then you have to be focusing, bringing a level of consciousness to what happens. It might be just learning to bring your knee forward. And when you bring your knee forward, there's a whole feeling of experience of where's the balance point on that? What's it feel like to put the heel back down? Does the weight go back over to this side, or does pushing out with the knee cause my weight to drift over to the side that's supporting the weight? So all of these things become an experience. And then that experience becomes heightened, and then you start to develop an understanding. And that understanding becomes a conscious effort. So while you're mindfully trying to do this, you have to consciously create that motion that we're developing. So this works with, building understanding. If you had a stroke, or if you had something neurological that has happened and it doesn't work very well, that's how we rebuild a lot of these movements. You have to keep doing it. So something that you don't do could go away. Now that movement might be something you don't do, not because you lost it. It's because you might never have done anything like this that requires this. But if you were sitting in a chair and you were just tapping your foot, you would be doing that. But the thing is, you don't pay attention to that type of action when it's just something that you just do. So that's what I call taking a lot of movements for granted. When you just take it for granted, you don't think about it. But if you don't take it for granted and you start to think about it, then that's what mindfulness is. You have to pay attention, have focus on some of the things that we're doing. So this is that kind of thing. Get mindful in this type of action, because what this is going to translate into is direction. How do I turn? How do I get from the side to the front? And then go forward and back. So this is something that's really built into our transitions, because this is how we move in the form. And that's why Tai Chi is done slowly, because the slower you do it, the more control you have of the movements. And you want to build as much control and do movements as complicated and the most complex type of things that you can work with. Because these simple movements, as they appear to be, become more and more complicated as we start to work the right and left sides, and then we build some upper body movement with the hands and legs. So everything starts to build, and if I were to do grasp the sparrow's tail here, you would see, and a lot of you might not have seen this, but it's something that I do in that 9:30 class. You would have a series of hand movements coordinated with leg movements, and then you hook. So you have all these positions. When you combine the legs, the hands, you start to build what we call postures. So posture is a position, just like, if you're standing here in a vertical position, it's a vertical posture. And good posture is that you don't slant, or you don't slope, or you don't lean. So what we want to create is a vertical posture. When we bend our knees and we turn, we go into an empty stance. An empty stance is this leg is empty. We're sitting here. It's also called a sitting stance. And when we go forward and back, we have a vertical hand and a horizontal hand. And we turn back to the front. Okay. We go to the other side. We switch the hands. We have a vertical hand and a vertical toe, a horizontal hand, and a lean, and a back position, and we turn back to the front. Okay. So we're have we seen horizontal or vertical? It's in this position and this. So there's triangles, circles, and squares. So that's the geometry of the position. So geometry of position just is translated and described as shapes, circles, okay, squares, or 90-degree angles, and triangles, which is A, B, and C, or A, B, and C, creating 3 points, and that's your triangle, okay? And triangle, there's angular position. So everything we're dealing with when we're practicing is the skeletal structure. And think of these positions, just like, little kids when they're playing with the blocks, they learn triangles, circles, and squares. So we've actually gotten familiar for that through our life. But the thing is, how do we put that into context with our body? Triangles and squares and hoops are actually what we can do with our joints. And at the same time, when we maneuver and manipulate our skeletal structure, we end up creating patterns of movement. And we learn to integrate the right and left sides of the body, whether it's putting the hands together and turning the shoulders. All of these things are kind of built. So that was leg work, and we have our hands here. This is a triangle. This is a vertical posture. This is a 45-degree kick out. You kick the heel out, you're 45 degrees like that. You kick out 45 degrees like that. So a lot of times I like to take us in to a direction so that when we turn, the head actually moves like this. So now we're facing this direction. That's the direction we're going to head. If I go like this and I pan back into here, I'm facing you, and then this is the way I'm going to walk. Now when my feet are together and I turn like this, that takes me in that direction. Okay, so while we're turning the head to do the exercise, that loosens us up. But at the same time, if we want to move, and this is kind of robotic, that's what we have to take us in a direction. Now, if our head's flexible, we turn, maybe we'll sight the direction we're headed in, and that kind of gives you a combination of just moving in a direction and working it like that. So that's actually turning a corner. Turning the corner is sometimes a problem if you walk and then you reach a point, then you say, how do I go that way? Well, once you've learned to pivot your feet, and once you use a sight line to kind of take us in a direction, then you start to head in that direction. So that sight line, remember, it's kind of eye level, and then maybe drops out in front of you. Don't let the sight line drop in front of you here, because the sight line is going to take you in a direction. Well, looking down is not where you want to go. That's what happens when you fall. So you want to keep your sight line more level and maybe slightly gazing downward slightly, just to see what's in front of you. Could be like walking outside, just to kind of get a sight line that predetermines what's in front of you, whether it's a crack or a hole in the floor or whatever, something misaligned. So you get a heads up and you know to avoid that, because that could be a catastrophe, walking into a ditch or whatever. So what you're doing is sighting, you're looking. Now the sight line is going to take you in a direction. So that's coordination of the hand. We're talking about hand-eye coordination. Hand-body coordination will help you go in a direction. And that's really, valuable understanding, a valuable tool to take you into directions so your body has this specific kind of motor skill that's going to take you and turn you in a direction. So that's essentially what happens when we do that basic drill, okay? Now we'll put our hands here. We're going to do shoulder rolls. We want to loosen up the shoulders. And when we talk about movement, we talk about circulation, we talk about stimulation, we talk about building motor skills. So making a circle in the shoulder area is going to loosen up this area. This shoulder, this collarbone that you have here, it actually should move. All right, so you can feel it moving. If it doesn't move, it's because you probably haven't done this movement. So this goes backwards, or at least you're not familiar with it. So what do you have to do? Like everything else that we talked about as far as learning movement is to program it. Imagine creating the circular movement and then just focus on sort of inwardly kind of tracking that movement. So that's a visualization. Now, if I look forward, then I might not be able to track it the way I could if I was trying to like look at my shoulders from the outside in. So you're kind of scanning your own body to see if you can create that movement. So it's a bit of imagination. So that's part of um, the visual side of memory, and it's also part of the mental imagery. So we constantly will be building mental images of what we're seeing and what we want to do, so that from that mental image is where we can draw off of, different types of motions to practice. Because without that mental imagery, you're at a standstill. You don't know what to do. So shoulder roll is that, and then backwards is this. Okay, now we're going to bring the hands down and make a big circle. 1, 2, 3. So that's a big circle. In this direction, it's going to the side of the body. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. So that's 2 big circles. A couple of giant circles. Your arms are moving in parallel. And because you actually have to turn a little bit from the shoulders, otherwise your hands would be out here. So if you're not coordinating the movement and working in a direction of movement, then your shoulders really have to be compromised. And if there's rigidity, it's going to be difficult to do. So you have to release the tension in the body and let it just kind of like accommodate the movement in a direction. So if you have trouble with this, don't put any tension. So relax the shoulders and then don't force it if it's out here. You have to go over the top and turn. So that's something that you can build as a coordination. Now this one is swinging, but now this is front to back. Press, release, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, touching to the roof of your mouth, tongue touch the roof of the mouth, and breathe through your nose. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. So this is breath and its movement. So you're building this coordination. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. So keep it swinging. This is very simple to do. It's something that you can do regularly. And then we stop. And then next what we're going to do is these 2 circles. So the knees have to kind of fold and unfold, which is straightening. Unfolding is straightening. Folding is creasing the back of the knee. You're folding and unfolding. Try to keep the torso vertical. Try to keep the tailbone kind of plumb. Don't let it go out like that. Okay, and don't tuck it, because if you tuck it, then you end up being stiff right here. So you want to fold right here and let your hip crease, and then fold again. And then the arms go out to the side, and you go down and up and down and up and down. Now we're going to reverse it. You're going to go down and up, down and up, down and up. And you build that synchronization, and the body will feel more comfortable as it starts to pick up on everything that's moving. Okay, so those are circles. You have the big circle, you have the middle circle, you have shoulders that are circles. So these are all circular movements, working your shoulder, your hips, build some integration of your upper body and lower body, and that helps support the movement of these major joints. Okay, so you have those primary, I call them the primary movers, you kind of work them together. Okay, here's the deep breathing again. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, now we're going to do that shifting of weight now, and you can feel. So with the hands hanging by your side, you could see, when I go this way, you feel that the shift and the pressure that's going on this side takes my body to here. And if I go on the other side, you can feel your weight going all the way over to it, supported by this leg, and then this foot will drift in. Then you step out, shift, and then let that come in. So what's happening is you're getting all your weight over to this leg, and then you lift. That gives you stability and help to build balance. So here again, we have to practice sort of discover what that feels like, and because we're doing it so slowly, you can allow your body to adapt and feel what's going on with that. So that's how we shift our weight, support our position, lift the thing, our leg. Then if we want like this, we're shifting, and then we're going to do this knee up position and just shift, find the position, and then just go from one to the other. Okay, so this is the golden cockroach stands on one side. It's the golden chicken stands on one leg. The golden and the chicken part of it's really not important. It's standing on one leg. Okay, so standing on one leg is your goal. This just describes that action. And then down. Okay, so that's something you practice. And here again, if you have your hands, if you're, maybe in a corridor, you need the walls, or you're in front of your counter, or next to a chair, you can use those, as crutches. If you're standing between two chairs, then you can practice not holding tight, but just use it as a security, just kind of knowing that there's something there to support you if you were to lose your balance, or if you don't have the strength. Just work like that. Okay. Next, we're going to work on the leg swing. This is something that I like to emphasize. That we have to swing our arms, because the more we swing our arms, the more free our torso will be. You want the torso to kind of twist. Okay, twist, 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 twist. Right? This is what you're doing. Okay. Now when we move the foot in a bit, and I move it out, notice the front leg and the opposite hand is forward, and then it switches. And then it switches again. So this essentially is how we typically would walk, where the hand and the legs actually have this relationship. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's counterbalancing. It creates a balance in the center of mass of your body. Because when we move, that balancing is what keeps us stable. It's when we move and we don't move the upper body correctly is when your body becomes disconnected, and at the same time, you don't feel very comfortable in the movement because it's not natural. So the unnaturalness of your movement will cause you to kind of feel uneasy. So that's why you have to learn to relax the upper body and then use your eyes as a director to take you in whichever direction you intend to go to. So here's a forward movement, here's a backward movement. Here's a forward movement. So this is the exercise. Opposite, and you just keep going forward and back. Now, the difference between taking a step and this exercise is that we don't shift the weight. We're leaving the weight here to train this leg to build some stability and give you the opportunity to stand on one leg. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing here. This is stepping, stepping, stepping. So whether you start with the right or left or right, it doesn't really matter. But the thing is, when you're going like this, it's only 2 movements. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Let's pause. Now you can feel stable, and you can almost hold the position like a silhouette. You're just in the position. Then when you switch, so that's freezing in a position, but then there's balance. You freeze in a position. There's a balanced position, but you unfreeze and you move. So when freezing, that's your final position. In unfreezing, it's your transition. Then you freeze again. So that's sort of how we balance our movement. We have to move to be solid, and then we let it go to be on the empty side. So that's a balance in principle. It's sort of the yin and yang of philosophy of Tai Chi, is that when we move, we're doing that. Now if we go like this, now that's a little bit extreme. Let's just do this. Okay, let's go here to here. And then we cross or just come together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm reaching out to touch. That's light, and then in. So there's not much weight on this moving leg. We go out and in, out and in. So we don't want to do this. That's committing the step and not really what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop stability and strength in this leg. Now we go to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and stop. Okay, so that's the leg work. We did the balancing, we lift the knee, and we swing the legs by stepping. So that's a bit of coordination there, and it actually works. The hip shift, the torso turn. So now you can see there's a blend of twisting, there's a blend of the upper body cross-referencing each other, and then we have the equal opposite counterbalancing. So all of those are really good to help build understanding. Body intelligence. This is called silk reeling. We're going to go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Now here's the thing. When we turn like this and turn like this, we have the front position. This is the vertical position in the back leg. When we go like this, there's the vertical position front leg. So between there and there are the 2 positions, front and back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so you see that, and you see that. So get that image of a position, and then here's another position, and here's another position. Then this goes all the way down, and we sit back, and we're here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we sit back and go 5. Now when we blend these movements together, it becomes one seamless motion, as it appears to be. There's no beginning or end. It just continues cycling through. You know, it's sort of like clockwork. It's like the gearing inside the watch or gearing inside some type of mechanism that is working like this with this synchronization. If you have these gears in the body, which are your joints, if you stop, then it all should stop. So we're moving, trying to build that integration. And that's really what skill level is. Now let's go to the other side. Hold the ball. Then we go forward and back. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we just cycle through. We're just going to go forward and back and forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's 1, shoulder, 2, hip, 3, vertical, elbow pointing down, and 4. Okay. So you see that there's a slanting hand position there where it's slanting up like that. That's just slant diagonal. So it's not only slanting, it's also on a diagonal. So slant diagonally as a transition. Then we sit back and then we go to square one, starting, and then you pass through and back and over and separate. Okay, good. So that's silk reeling. That's an exercise. Next, we're going to cross the hands. Get the right foot forward, and we open and close. Open and close. Open and close. Open and close. Okay, let's switch the other side. We just do a few of each of these because there's so many of these exercises. We generally can't get through them if we do too many of them at one setting. So we want to run through these from beginning to end. This is called open and close. What you're doing is expanding your hands. So notice everything that you do kind of has this opening and closing movements, whether it's like this or whether it's like this, that's the infinity sign. It's just the same actions with a slightly different body position and the torso movement, where the body is either like this or like this or like this. These are all little positions. Okay. Now here, this is called preparation. Now this is probably the single movement that everybody kind of recognizes when they see Tai Chi. Well, they start off and they're always going to lift up, and then everything happens from there. You to take a step forward, you would continue the sequence depending on what form you're doing. So this is called preparation. It's the vertical circle. And then we're going to do a little bit of meditation, standing meditation. So we clear the thoughts. Remember what this position is called, a lower circle, lower hoop. That's the name. Clear your thoughts. Tongue touches the roof of your mouth. Okay, now next we're going to let the hands drift up until they get up to about shoulder height. Okay, now I lower the hands and we turn the palms in slightly like this, and you can see that the palms are slightly cupped and it forms a triangular position. Where the fingertips meet, there's the triangle. We open up the butterfly or open up the palms like a chrysanthemum. It just opens up. Now we lower the hand. Now, all through all those three positions, my knees are slightly bent. Now I'm going to elongate the arms and the legs, but without actually, making them locked or stiff. Okay, so this is the vertical position. Lift from above, so your spine feels like it's going up. Chin in tight. Your chin should be tucked in slightly to take the nap of the neck, the tension out of there. Okay, now we're going to turn the palms like this, so the palms are facing the thighs, and you just let them hang and lift. So your elbows want to approach a straightness, and your knees will actually feel the same. Next we'll do the deep breathing. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, let's go to low hoop again. Let's go to carry tiger to the mountain. So this is lower hoop, upper hoop, cross the arms, and lower hoop. So we just cycle through those positions. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, next we have the infinity side. We're going to go out, we're going to go in, we're going to go out, and then so you see the figure 8 on its side, and that's called the figure. It's called divert, block, and punch in the form. So divert, block is to move the hands out and to move them in, move them out and in. Now the next one really is called fist under elbow. It was like this, or so those are fists, or forming the fist. So we form the fist. We have 2 fist positions. If I went like this or went like this, is the fist under the elbow. If we do this and I pull back and do this, that's called form the fist and punch. So you draw back and you have a punching action like this. So we're not really putting a whole lot of physical power or physical effort into it, because we're just doing these movements to develop more of a motor skill than just physical strength. Okay, next, palms together. We're going to strum the glute, so you go from one side to the other. And we continue to find that center, and we have one side here, and we have one side here. Okay, so remember, this is the vertical hand in front of the nose. That's the height. The other hand is more maybe where the solar plexus or the fingertip is alongside the elbow. So there's your position. It's closed. The fist is kind of on guard, and that's kind of like where fist under elbow is. Okay, so form the fist and punch. Now we're going to bring the palms together. We stroke like this is called strum the glute. And all that is recreating a right and left neutral position. Strum the glute. Okay, thumbs up, alternate the shoulders. Okay, now next we're going to switch it back to the other side. Thumbs up, alternate the shoulders. Okay, now once we finish that, we're going to go back to neutral. Few deep breaths. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, so that's the series of exercises that we do. And then we have a few more that we're going to do, and we're going to draw the bow. So this is set up like this. So this one is simulating like drawing an archery bow. You pull the string. We don't have a string between us, so it's imaginary drawing of the bow. So a lot of things that we do is sort of visualization. You visualize the motion to create an action, brings in some functionality. So once you draw the bow and you release, then you turn and you draw the bow. Okay. If we spread our feet, we have this movement called fan through the back. So it's just more of the same, big circles. So you notice everything that we're doing is in circles and arcs. Right? That's all really the only way we can move. It's really creating circles and arcs by pivoting and rotating our limbs around a pivot point or a joint. Okay, so circular movements are the only thing that we actually can do. But the linear lines are created by the manipulation of the skeletal structure. So what we do is really creating lines and patterns in space by how we move our hands, like writing, like calligraphy, like anything else that you do that require a space and a direction. And then if you have a brush, you have ink, you have a pen, and you put that, a piece of chalk, when you put that line or put that arc, it's really scripting something out so you can see what that, that pattern is, that configuration. So that's all we're doing. We're doing movements in space. But because that's how we're designed to move, we're recreating a lot of these motions. And that's why I use the whole body and train the whole body, because that's what we're doing, is building an astute body that knows patterns and sequences and order, and your body will start to pick up on that. And that becomes improving functionality. You learn to improve everything that's tied together, whether it's walking, moving, turning, lifting, tasks. Your arms are folding, you're moving. So you're really describing actions virtually. So for some people it's very difficult because the functionality of movement isn't totally tangible. So you have to kind of work at it to sort of dial it in to know what that movement is. So if you're making a circle, or you're making a circle like this, or you're churning, or you're doing this like you're doing the mortise and pestle, or even grinding, or whichever thing you're doing, cranking it around, that's a circle. So when we move our hands, that's what we're doing. We're creating these circles. And there's functionality to that, but it's also accuracy of movement. Okay, we're going to try a deep breath again. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, now we're going to raise our hand, go way up tall, get a good stretch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that basically is a run-through of all those warm-ups. Now we're going to go through a few other things. First thing we're going to do is cloud hands with a couple of steps to the side, and then we're going to do the 3 steps forward. Then we're going to do a couple of postures. Okay, so this is cloud hands. So that's these 2 circles creating one at a time. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's 4 sets of hand movements. Now I'm going to shift the weight and touch down. Shift the weight and touch down. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that's 4 movements. When we move this way, the weight goes this way. When we move this way, the weight goes this way. If the weight goes this way, then I can bring this foot to here. When the weight goes this way, I can bring this foot to here. So that's the leg work and the hand work in combination. Now, if I go this way If I want to continue to go this way, what do you have to do? Okay, we'll go this way. Now I can't move this leg again until I step. So I find two centers. There's one here, and then there's one here. And then I move to the side. Now that's not a coincidence that we have two centers here, because we have two legs, and each leg becomes weight-bearing. And then we move to the side. So that's just moving towards your left. Then we move to the right. We find that center. That's the second time. And here's a step. There's the first center. Now we bring it back. Here's the second center, because now we're light on this side, and we step. So that's something that you can practice to help moving sideways, taking a step in that direction. Okay, and then coordinate the hands. Now we're going to move from here this way, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to go backwards, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. So let's go right, left, and right. Let's go left, right, and left. So that's the forward, backward. Remember the clockwise circle? We're going to go forward, forward, forward. 1, 2, and 3. So we have one circle and 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so you see you have the two sideways movements where we shift with the cloud hands. And then we have moving to the side. And then we're moving to the other side. Okay, as sort of mobility exercise. You're learning to move, tying your hands together as a strategy for upper-lower coordination. We've done a lot of drills on building flexibility and range of motion. And then we've built some ideas of balancing, counterbalancing movement, like equal opposite movements that kind of correspond to each other, building that network and that balance. Now, we bring our feet together. We have this empty stance that we did like that. But what do we do when we go forward and back? Now we're going to do it again, forward as a horizontal and a back. Okay, forward and back. There's vertical and horizontal. So let's turn out like this. Okay. Now we can switch the hands to vertical and horizontal. Turn the step. Okay. And we can switch the hands and go forward. So while we do this exercise as strum the lute and go to horizontal, that's where it comes into play when we take a step and step through and switch hands. And go forward and back, and then toe out, step up, and switch hands. So that's going right and left, vertical and horizontal with a step forward. So that's actually Tai Chi leg work with some upper body posturing with the hands. But if we were going forward and back and then twisting and stepping through, if we were to turn and flip our hands and did that, that's all actually called a brush knee movement. So my hands are like this, and I flip my hands, that becomes a brush knee push. If I set up my vertical and horizontal again, and I do a twist step, and I step through, I end up with the elbow position like this, and that's a brush knee and push on the right side. Okay, so that's one of the postures. Then we have the grass the sparrow's tail, but let's do this. Preparation. Let's do this. Left foot forward. Now let's go forward, back, and let's kick the heel out like we normally would do in that leg drill. And we shift over and then face this way, and then take a step forward and go to vertical and horizontal. Okay. So you can see where vertical and horizontal come into play, because this is really what eventually we'll be doing, is adjusting our feet and stepping up on the left, bring it to vertical, bring it to horizontal, use that kick out position that we learned from turning the heel, shift the weight. Now let's stroke down after we flip the hands. Now let's turn. Now you see how we turn? We start to square the hips. Once we get to comfortable position, we end up here. And then we step out and we find the vertical position again and we press. Okay. There's a series of movement here that's called grasp the sparrow's tail. Then we pivot on the heel again, bring the feet together, then move it out, then pivot on the heel again, open it up. We would be in a position like this, called single whip. So those are postures in the form, and what the form is really housing those postures, and those postures create a form once you link it all together. That's sort of the book of movement, and we're learning these book of movements so that we can house the movements and then bring them out if we want to practice them separately or in the form, or use those as a sort of a guiding way of moving through your movements to control your body, actually. We're learning to move our body continuously. So I took you through some of the movements in the form, and hopefully that kind of opened up your experience, so that we do that more at 9:30 on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But today we did a little bit of it, and hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, Thursday we have that meetup. It's going to be on Zoom, and it's called Thinking Thursday. Is that right, Oh, Take Time Thursday. We're thinking about it too, but take time on Thursday, and it's at 1 o'clock. Get ready for that, and we'll talk to you later.